I'm sorry for the delay, everybody. Mm, Thank you for being very patient, and I'm going to um, start the what is it? The presentation. Hello everyone. My name is Gladys. Não tenho sobrenome porque em Sudeste Asiático, em Sudeste Ásia, não tem sobrenome generalmente, especialmente na Indonésia e no japonês. Mas um, my full name é Gladys Elliona Syahutari. Eu sou uma escritora, eu sou uma pesquisadora também e eu moro na Jakarta. Desculpa para mim, para meu português falado não é bom, so I'm gonna present with two languages here, mostly in English. So we're going to talk about principais temas da literatura Indonesia pós-reforma. Talvez you guys already read the what is it, the abstract and and a little bit introduction. So este é um índice. Primeira vez, we will talk a little bit about Nova Ordem, reforma, literatura durante a reforma, jornalismo, e etc. Temas da literatura indonésia pós-reforma e surgimento de prêmios literários. O que aconteceu na Nova Ordem? First thing was the censor is very, very damn heavy. I think you guys already talked about this in the previous lecture or previous seminar about what really happened in the Suharto era. Especialmente censura sobre temas subversivos nas artes e literatura is very heavy, muito pesado. Por exemplo, críticas ao governo, narrativas de mulheres não afeminadas ou não domésticas, porque a lot of women narrative should align with how a government wants woman to be seen as the mother. That is why later on we will know about this philosophy called state ibuism. We can talk about that later. Segunda vez, literatura dominada por escritores do sexo masculino e controlada diretamente pelo governo. But at that time we have the Ministério da Informação at that time, but now we already disbanded them because it's very Nova Ordem. The third one is anticomunismo e a anti-subversão, profundamente enraizados sob o risco de prisão, exílio e morte. It is very big, and it is a general secret. We all know it in secret that there are a lot of state sponsored killing in my country. So Yeah, that's basically it. And it even still be something that is very hot and happened in the early 2000s after the Reformation. Ok. O que aconteceu na reforma e diretamente pós-reforma? Uh, First one was crise monetária, claramente. The US dollars were like, we had an inflation going on. I think it was in the 96 or 97, mostly 97. Um, Depois, we also have sangrenta, a agitação civil em diferentes cidades da Indonésia, because of the like monetary crisis. People were getting like having like civil unrest, and then people were like killing each other in the streets. That happens in the 90s, but mostly not in Jakarta yet. People were like really doing this civil unrest, bloody civil unrest, um, in some more far city from Jakarta. And then, yeah, a lot of violence, like a hard violence, happened in Jakarta as well in the Reformation. Um, yeah, uh, the 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 military basically killed students in the street. And then Suharto renuncia à presidência em 21 de maio, 98. I was there. I was a kindergarten student watching on TV, and yeah, I was a kid, and that happens in my city. Yeah, we can talk about it later. The second one, we will talk about a little bit about o que aconteceu na pós-reforma, diretamente. Primeira vez, a democracia e descentralização do governo. This is kicking up about how some provinces will have their own autonomy on economy, on rules and stuff. Uh, Second one is referendo e independência de Timor-Leste. Uh, uh, yeah, Timor-Leste basically did a referendum, and yeah, we all know what happened. And the last one is liberdade de opinião, expressão étnica e gênero. Um, because back in Suharto era, um, all need to be like very nationalized, or all is very like, you cannot like deliberately express your ethnicity if it is not government approved. If your what is it, religion is not government approved. So yeah, basically it's very censored, it's very heavily government centered. Ok, finalmente, literatura durante a reforma. We will basically talk about two things. The first one is jornalismo literário. O que é? Jornalismo literário e estilo de Senogumira Adidharma. Senogumira Adidharma, ele foi jornalista, around in the 90s and 80s. It is like his contraposition. This piece, just apart from that incident, is very juxtaposed, this very contraposition between a very oh yeah, belas e perfumadas de mulheres no Jakarta e o seu trabalho como jornalista de caráter mais sombrio, explorando o caso de Delhi e de Timor-Leste. Again, we were talking about the civil unrest, and that was basically what happened in the whole like 90s in Indonesia. So yeah, this piece is actually talk about the contrast between what happened in in Jakarta and in the other places in Indonesia. And it's very contrast, and yeah, about violence happening in the, what is it, in Igreja. And then, yeah, neste romance podemos ver claramente que o regime fez dos militares uma arma do governo a favor do poder e o dinheiro. So yeah, this novel kind of tell a little bit about the corruption and nepotism happening, but in a very very subtle way. Next, the second style, o segundo estilo é literatura perfumada. Atualmente é um sentença derogatória. It's very derogatory because this label, the literatura perfumada, ou em indonésio é sastrawangi. It's actually a label from some male critics back at that time because the emergence of women writers. We will talk about this. One of the most prominent literatura perfumada, mas actualmente esse livro não é perfumada at all. Like, no, not perfume at all. This one is very like serious and very like cerebral, I think. Ayutami wrote this, Saman. Ayutami escreveu o romance e publicou em maio de 98, apenas 10 dias antes da queda de Suharto. So it is very very like close to historic moment. It's like yeah, because this novel was winning the novel, what is it, competition in Jakarta, and then directly after that, Suharto was renouncing his presidency. Este romance é uma história sobre Saman, cujo nome verdadeiro é Wisangani, ex-padre católico que se tornou um ativista dos direitos humanos, defendendo os proletários nas aldeias. A história então segue para 4 mulheres com antecedentes religiosos, ocupações e sexuais muito diverso. And this is considered very progressive at that time, considering as what we talked about earlier, about how women were expected to be domestic, were expected to be very much men-centered and supposed to be like very, very patriarchal society. but this really breaks it all because finally we talked about um, a rebel ex-padre and rebel women from diverse background in Indonesia. Um, este romance é considerado um avanço porque, pela primeira vez na história da literatura indonésia, podemos ver a sexualidade do ponto de vista das personagens femininas. Yeah, which is also the um, same theme that were brought about by all the literatura perfumadas escritoras, temas que antes eram tabus no regime de Nova Ordem, claramente, como sexualidade, política e conflitos religiosos. Também algumas outras escritoras, a maioria de origem jovem e urbana, sim, porque é chamada, foi chamada literatura perfumada e porque as escritoras são a maioria de Jakarta. Também começaram a publicar os seus trabalhos. Estes têm nomes como Jenar Maisayu, Fira Basuki e Dewi Lestari. And yeah, as I said, literatura perfumada é muito derogatório. It puts the writers, coloca as escritoras como secundárias, inferiores e objetiva as escritoras desigualdade criada. As escritoras da época também participaram da revelação das falhas do regime militar em suas obras. Yeah, most of them talks about that. Yeah, we can talk about this later. Okay, so, and then all of those brings us to our main theme tonight, temas na literatura indonésia pós-reforma. Tem três temas esta noite. Primeira tema é trauma da violência colonial e militar. Basically, this is what I called as colonial hangover or New Order hangover. It's 2023 and people were still like acting like they're colonized, acting like they're militarized. And yeah, I don't blame everyone because it is very traumatic even for me. So yeah, let's see what this theme will bring to our current contemporary literature. Sobre colonialismo, tem dois livros. Primeiro livro é Cantik Itu Luka, or in English, Beauty is a Wound. Em português, A Beleza é uma Ferida. It's available in Portuguese by Eka Kurniawan. And the second one is not translated to English yet. It's Semua Untuk Hindia by Iksa Kabanu. These two have a quite different style because Eka is using magical realism. Eka interpreta os restos do colonialismo holandês e japonês em seu livro, em sua obra, sua obra. Enquanto Banu conta histórias usando ficção história, ficção histórica. So it's very, very heavy on like telling about the Dutch side and how the Indonesian side, like he did construct all of it. So yeah, this is one of the um, example of the colonialism themed important works. The second one is about the military, and this is a very big, big novel in Indonesia. It is already translated to English as home, pulang, and if I may to translate to Portuguese, it becomes voltar para casa. Conta a história de exilados e presos políticos dos acontecimentos in the 65. We talk about the exiles and the victims, the political prisoners from the 1965 who cannot go home. People can't go home back in the 65 and in the 70s just because they were associated with Sukarno and perceived as communist. They can't go home, and still there are some like Indonesian exiles until now, and they died out there in the Europe. That happens. Yeah, next. uh the other theme is realismo da desigualdade, mas podemos ver múltiplos desigualdades. Um, we can see it in economy, in gender, in culture, but I will like introduce you to the next books that will like talk about inequality. This one is quite big for the past like 4 years or 3 years. Orang-orang Oitimu, ou as pessoas de Oitimu. Oitimu é uh, campo, a village in the West Timor, in Timor West. Written by Felix Nessi, my friend. Ele fala sobre a desigualdade econômica e o poder da religião e do governo na Indonésia Oriental, escândalos religiosos e a realidade da pobreza causada pela infraestrutura e colonialismo. Neste livro, honestly, there are still like some Portuguese influence in this book, because they know the people who are like Portugal descent that lived in the Timor and stuff, and they have a very like a very strong memory about Portuguese colonialization, both in Timor Leste and its influence in the West Timor. Yeah, he talked a lot about that in the book. The next one is cerita-cerita bahagia, hampir seluruhnya. Happy stories mostly in English. This book is in the long list of International Booker Prize and the winner of Republic of Consciousness Prize. So it is a pretty big deal by Norman Erickson Pasaribu. Uh, Os contos sombrios sobre decisões para sobreviver. Um, this is not just talking about like how to survive in a very cruel Jakarta world or a very cruel Indonesian injustice. Mas ele fala sobre experiências queer e decisões femininos, decisões sobre mulheres experiências. The last one is the theme that I see in coming in the Indonesian literature lately is das corbertas espirituais. And how we see spirituality in the past like 15 or 10 years kind of different now because we surely love myths. We have our own like mythology, and we have like very different mythology in different provinces, very very diverse pantheon and stuff. But what I'm going to talk about are the books that are like urbanly spiritual. What is an like urban spiritual? What do I think about it? There are two books that I'm recommending. Um, the first one is Pintu Terlarang, of A Porta Proibida by Sekar Ayu Asmara. It is already filmed. I don't know if it is available in Brazil, but should be on Netflix. Um, it is a feminine thriller, um thriller feminino que destaca problemas de saúde mental e uma família abusiva com um alto senso de escapismo. It the book, I really love this book. The book talks about a painter and his wife, painter and his wife that cannot open this forbidden doors, literally forbidden doors in their home. There's this forbidden home that is very, very, very forbidden, and they also talk about women's decision on abortions. I just love this book. And then the second one is written also by my friend, 24 Jam Bersama Gaspar, or 24 Hours with Gaspar, Sabda Armandio Alif. Recently, it is also filmed and played in Busan International Film Festival. Este é um romance de detetive em um cenário urbano de Jakarta que mistura elementos especulativos, ficção especulativos, espiritismo e steampunk. Believe it or not, we can talk about steampunk here in Jakarta. Yeah, some of the book is here in my room too. Anyway, um, yeah. Why spirituality in 24 Hours with Gaspar? Because they talk about ghost, and they also talk about mythical creatures, cryptid creatures that is very like um, mixed into a very secular Jakarta setting. Yeah, it's just very interesting. Okay, an additional section here. I'm going to talk about surgimento dos prêmios literaturas, because back before Reformation, uh, we don't have such thing. We don't have premios. Um, we don't have that. And after Reformation, maybe like after 2010s, after like 2008, maybe there are three um, major awards in Indonesia, but not three major, but commonly known actually. Um, the Sayembara Novel Dewan Kesenian Jakarta, o Competição de Romance uh, from Jakarta Arts Council. Uh, it's actually existed since the 90s, uh, but again, we cannot trust the government in the 90s, if you remember what we talked about. So yeah, the more like more free, or the freer version of it is like emerging in the early 2000s. The second one is Kusala Sastra Katulistiwa, or um, yeah, the Katulistiwa Literary Award. Um, Recently, the founder of the award just died, so it kind of like on a frozen state right now. But since like the 2010s, this award is like um, yeah, this award really like underlines new and emerging voices in Indonesian literature. And the third one is the effort of the government to have an award, because they initially don't have one, but they tried to have one. So yeah, they had it in the Ministry of the Education and Culture, Penghargaan Sastra Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan. Uh, that one was very new. That one was very new. It was like I think 2020 is like just the past 3 years. So yeah, that's it, I guess. Ok, for closing notes, a maioria dos livros que eu apresentei estão disponíveis em inglês. E escritores indonésios com obras traduzidas para o português. Uh, Temos três escritores, Eka Kurniawan em livro, Andrea Irata em livro, e recentemente Norman Erickson Passaribu, sua poemas online publicado around like 5 months ago. I'm not sure, but I found Norman's poems in a Brazilian literary scene recently. Yeah, I guess that's it. Terima kasih. I'm sorry for the bad presentation, or an informal presentation, because yeah, that's it. I'm open for questions and answers. Um, yeah, you can ask me with Português, mas eu vou a resposta com inglês, if you may. Thank you.
So thanks a lot for your presentation, Gladys. A lot of nice recommendations. And I would like to ask you something about film adaptation. Because recently we saw Bumi Manusia from Pramudia Nantatur became a beautiful movie. Eka Kurniawan has a couple of novels that were adapted and so on and so forth. Would you recommend something specific, and do you see this as affecting the writing of this new generation of writers? Like people in Brazil, something is happening that's the following. some writers, they are writing knowing that probably their novels will be adapted to film, and this is affecting the way they write, you see. And so basically that's the question. So thanks a lot.
Obrigada, Felipe. Um, honestly, there are two types. There are two types. First type is some newer writers doesn't really care. They just write and network on the like literature scene and stuff. But the other one is that one, the people who think that if they write, they can be like their work can be filmed and stuff. But a lot of young writers will go straight to making scenario rather than making novels if they want to be in the film instead. But there are also like some publishing house that is having a production house as well. That is the trend now in Indonesia. Some of publishing house owns production house. So when they sign the contract, the book is promised to be filmed by the production house. So that's what people say it in Jakarta as IP, intellectual property, and that is quite happening content right now. People were signing their book for the IP rather than for the story. But yeah, but we still have the first kind. The first kind is actually yeah, people who are honestly and sinceramente um, care apa ya to be in the like literature scene. Some of us just don't care actually. But yeah, again, if they really want to be like in movies, some of them just will really go straight ahead to be screenwriters or just or they sell their IPs, their stories as an IP. Does that make sense? Like, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Terima kasih, Gladhys. Terima kasih banyak. I would like to ask you about something I have read in one of the links you recommended.
Mhm.
And you talked a little about Sastrawangi, and I have read about a counterpart. It's contraposition of the feminists, which is the Islamic, Islamic religious literature of the 90s, represented by Helvi, Tiana Rosa, and Asma Nadia. And I would like to ask you if you could talk about the main difference and the main themes between these two groups. And also this Forum Lingkar Pena, which is the forum of this more Islamic literature. It's still existed. It still exists nowadays.
Okay. Interesting. Oh wow. Okay. Actually, yeah. Actually, there's other uh, opposing part, but we can talk about it later. The Marxist feminist, but we can talk about it later. But yeah, the Bu Helvi, Helvi Tiana Rosa, dan Bu Asma Nadia are actually big names too, and still very Islamic now. And Forum Lingkar Pena still existed Indonesia. Very, very much very existed right now. And is actually have their own world too. Since the Reformation, the right wing Islamist and the like very like Islam people were just growing like a grass. Like they're just popping everywhere. And yeah, their books is actually very, very in a way. I read some of their books and I knew Helvitiana Rosa's son when I was a kid. I read her son's book because her son was the youngest poet in my generation. Um, yeah. At first, their writings were more about successful people in urban Jakarta too. They talk about the same thing, but they have a very different solutions. I That's what I see in the Sastrawangi, in the Literatura Perfumada. The woman's solution is just to liberate and express what they want. But in the Forum Lingkar Pena, the more Islamic one, their solutions were to be pious, go back to the right way, go back to the family. So it's more like justification of domestication of women and Islamization of women. And also in Islam, there's this term we call dakwah. Uh, if you ever know dakwah. Dakwah, dakwah. It is Arabic for educate, Islamically educate. So what I heard from in the Forum Lingkar Pena circle, it is like writing is a part of dakwah. Writing is a part of what we call apa ya bilangnya itu uh, yeah to straightened liberated women. Some of their writings is actually filmed also, and it's very, very very top down, very like let me Google translate it. It's in Indonesian, it's menggurui. It's paternalista. Muito muito paternalista. Very patronizing. Yes. Um yeah, I think, yeah, but I think that's my position. I think that's my position about that. I don't say that their writings are bad. Their writings are good, but what they write is, for me, is quite patronizing.
Obrigado. A Elvie eu já tinha ouvido falar, assim, mas eu realmente nunca fui atrás para ler ou saber do que ela escrevia, né? Então, eu fiquei bastante curioso quando eu li no artigo que você enviou, né? Do Quantara.
Which article?
Now I forgot the author. Quantara.
Oh, the Kantara.
Yes.
Okay. Wait. I forgot also. Wait. I don't really remember. Is it about the remind me, what is it about? Because I forgot to.
It's like he wrote about Indonesian literature from the Angkatan 45 till
Yeah.
contemporary literature. Yes.
Okay. Let me see a little bit. Oh, ninja. Sorry. What was your question again?
Oh no, you have answered it. I was just saying about I have heard about Helvi, but I never read about, any of her works or didn't know anything about her.
Oh, I get it now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. One thing that I haven't mentioned it yet is actually the post-reformation literature is the kickstart of internationalization of Indonesian literature. Finally, because the government wants it to be nationalistic. Like we don't want such thing in Indonesia back in the Nova Ordem. Yeah. Finally, a lot of books were translated after Reformation. And on the reference is actually we talk a lot about how Indonesian writers getting spotlight in Frankfurt Book Fair and London Book Fair, uh, 2017 and 2019, if 2015 and 2019, if I am not mistaken. Um, yeah, and finally we got like very good recognition, and but Brazil have a better internationalization strategy in literature, because you guys have Fundação Biblioteca Nacional that have grants for international translators. We don't have such thing. We don't have such thing at all. Even to market our book in the international book fair, the the government is like misadministering the money. Like the money should be for the publisher, the money should be for the writers or people that will market their books in the international scene, but instead the money goes to bureaucrats that bureaucrats that needs to go to the Frankfurt also, but they don't really know about uh, book scene or literature scene. They just there to like exist. Yeah, that's the fact. But yeah, um, that's why like the internationalization of Indonesian book is in a very rocky side. Sometimes we are very good sponsored, sometimes we're not. And it really depends on who ruled and who continues the policy legacy and so on. See,
Can I
Felipe?
can I ask
Yes.
one more
Yes.
since nobody else manifested? So I would like to ask about Sastrawangi, the label itself, because
Mm-hmm.
recently I read from Jakarta Post an interview with Ayu Tami, and she was saying how this concept was created to provoke, but actually a lot of writers embraced this to play the game, right? But it is interesting because this generates a very biased reading of some pieces of art, like Saman. It's a book about eco-criticism, is about neocolonialism in Sumatra, but people focus only in the kinky parts. They only want to see the sex part, which are not really important, Right?
Yeah.
I think you agree with me. This is totally secondary in Ayutami's work, but at the same time, she has a lot of dimensions. She's been publishing, like the will study, a lot of books on religion, on spirituality recently, right? And so the first question is: do you see that this label of Sastrawangwi still affects the way people see woman writers such as yourself? And if someone calls your work Sastrawangwi, would you kick this person or not? Really?
Okay, this is interesting. Recently I did a residency in Central Java, an artist residency. And again, because we talk about a very minor Javanese community, not the major one, the Banyumas Javanese community, and a more spiritual community in Java, in the Dieng Highlands. So I came as a very urban women writers to the Highlands, and I made a very small play that I do some plays. And then one of my friend who studied Indonesian literature in Universitas Indonesia, he talked that my writing is like sastrawangi. Because this is funny that you bring this out, and that happened, yeah, already. uh, but he didn't say that. He didn't say that my writing is sastrawangi, but tends to tends to be that because of my background, because that I'm a woman. I grew in Jakarta. I was born and raised, bred in Jakarta. Uh, and yeah, just imagine you're from a very big Sao Paulo, or or Rio de Janeiro, and then you went to like interior Bahia, interior Amazonas. I don't know, like, so, imagine like that, and then you bring your Paulista views to the interior context, and uh, that's what I don't want to do. That's what I don't want to do, I myself, because I was raised in Jakarta and born here, but I'm a Javanese too. That's what I want to try to explore in me. But it cannot be helped to see that I'm a Jakartan instead of my like Javanese and blood. And speaking of Mbak Ayu Utami, uh, she's not very burdened with that label anymore, because she do her. She really she she is careless as shit. um, but um, but I see that some of the women writers in her generation is kind of like very yeah, they don't like that label, but they embrace it anyway, like you said. And um, maybe sometimes we need that. Maybe that's what they said. Maybe we need that because of how masculine the Indonesian literature world is, considering that, and the arts world, and the all of like arts world are very masculine. And also what I see from the current like Indonesian women writers are, they already move past that. Like they transcends um the perfumed what is it thing, because one, there are like a very spread it the women writers are not from big cities anymore. The women writers are like from Bali, from Jogja, from Makassar, a very, very different province in Indonesia, have their own women writers. And we love that diversity of voices now. So, uh, so men are not are kind of afraid to put labels to women writers right now because then it would generalize all Indonesian women writers. Because back then, why they put the sastrawangi label is because the Indonesian women writers are from city, and they just don't like how women city do, and they just have feminine jealousy. I think so. So so yeah, that's what they did because again, we have very diverse women writers now, and we have very diverse theme as well. Women writers of Indonesia doesn't really talk about like sexual things anymore, although we mostly do. But we talk like the recent one, like the recent winner of Sayembara novel, for example. She talks about obesity. And then we have Intan Paramadita. She talked about ghost. And then my friends talked about divorce. So it's very, they have a very, very different narratives right now. And for men writers to put labels on us will be their doom. It's on them. Yeah. I guess that's it. Yeah, I have like some books if you guys want to see. Okay, so like this is Norman's book. Uh this is Norman's book. Uh the rebrand version because because they already had the uh international Booker Prize thing. And then this one is Amalia Yunus. She talks about obesity in women and like body dysmorphia on women. And this is Intan Paramadita. No, no, not this one. Oh, this one. This one is Intan Paramadita. This one. This is the newest book. If you ever see, yeah, it's Malam Seribu Jahanam. Yeah. Um, and this one is actually English, like this stories of Jakarta, but they translated to Indonesia, cerita-cerita Jakarta. So it's like short stories about Jakarta. Yeah, it's all books here. Yeah.
This last one is like it's not Pramodia's book, right?
What is it?
This stories from Jakarta, because
Yeah,
Pramodia
this one.
has one book, kumpulan cerita-cerita pendek yang namanya Cerita dari Jakarta. So
Oh,
or is it many authors?
okay. Wait. Oh, yeah, yeah. This one, many authors,
Oh,
many,
okay.
many. Like, it's actually this one is actually commissioned by the Emma Press UK. So they don't only have Jakarta; they have like Tehran. They have like, I think they have Sao Paulo too. It's like the stories of Tehran, stories of Jakarta, like that. And they commissioned like 10, 10 writers from the city to write stories about their city. Yeah, and this is like the Indonesian version, but the original version is English version. Yeah, I think that's it. Jam 7.
And now, mudando de assunto, about your work, can you tell us about what novel are you translating? Clarice Lispector, né? É Hora da Estrela ou é outro trabalho dela?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm taking books. Okay, so actually, before we go to Clarish, because it is not published yet, it should be published on what next November or December. I still haven't heard from Mas Eka yet. Um, yeah, it's Eka Kurniawan's publishing house. So yeah, it's his publishing house. I translated Clarish Lispector, but again, it is for in the end of the year. But I have like some published one. This one is my first Portuguese short writers. O conto, meu primeiro conto, de Cristina Judar. This is Relatos Lumbung or Cerita-cerita Lumbung. It is a memória expansível. Eu foi traduzido em isso em 2 tahun yang lalu, two years ago. And then the most recent one is this Setembro, de editora dublinense, escritor Henrique Schneider de Porto Alegre. Ele é advogado, advogado, human rights. That's what I heard of him. And this is the translation. This is just published on August. And I am having a book tour with Enrique next week. So yeah, and yeah, for the first time in forever, Clarish book, the Hour of the Star, is going to be published in Indonesian, and I'm honored to be the translator of Clarish work. Yeah, and it's so great.
We will call Macabea. How? Did you change the name or something like this?
Não, não mudando título, mas eu proposto o título em indonésio. Like I translated the title to Waktu Bintang, but I don't know if they will use it or how they will use it, because it's in the final editing process now. I haven't asked Mas Eka. I have to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah, and yeah, I am helped by Benjamin Moser's translation as well, because as you know, my Portuguese is not that perfect, so I have to like check. It's yeah. We just have to wait for the translation to be published, I think.
Só agradecer, terima kasih banyak Sudah bangun pagi-pagi.
Bem, desperto em 5 horas.
5 da manhã, porra.
5. Ai.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for waking up early. Really nice presentation and talk.
Yeah, it's really nice to finally talk to you guys.
Now you have to create your version, your Latin American version.
Yes.
Yeah, you're the first international presence here. Of course,
Really?
Julia was here. And like this is the second year, right? It's the 24th edition of our
Yes.
group. And yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay, legal. It is actually a little bit like I told about you guys. Like I told my friends about sastra, what this group would do is todos, and my publisher Margin Kiri were like, oh, we should make the opposition. We should make the similar thing and talk about America Latin, and then it was like, and it should be called Sud, Sud, or South, Global South ugal-ugalan. It's like Sud, apa the translation is bagunsado do Sud. kayak bagusan do so gitu. Jadi harus kayak we have this crazy ideas, but I don't know if he can realize it because he's very busy, my editor. So yeah, we'll see about that if we will have the opposition.
Ok, terima kasih banyak. Muito obrigado todo mundo. E daqui um mês, logo próximo mês vai ser sobre Tailândia.
Legal.
Política na Tailândia. Vai ser no dia 30 de outubro. Então.
30? Oh, ok.
Isso.
Mantemos nas segundas-feiras, né?
Isso, segundas-feiras. E aí volta para as 7 da noite, né?
Para as 7 da noite. Legal.
Valeu, pessoal. Boa noite.
Obrigado a todos. Obrigado, Gladhys, mais uma vez.
Até logo.
Até mais.